guys, this is Zoshi and this is going to be my first impression of the RWSxTdM. I would say that's the name of the deck. There's gonna be a flip through of the whole deck listed down in the description as well, of course. So if you're just curious about the cards and you don't want to hear me blabbering, then you can do that as well. This is a special deck because it's from a Hungarian creator, and that's just so cool. And when I found him through Instagram, I was just so happy to see that there are other people obviously creating tarot decks. I mean, I know, but I don't really often find people who are actually creating decks, so this was one. I completely forgot to ask how he pronounces his last name, because he doesn't have an accent on the E at the end, but the typical one would be Bagameri with an A, so I don't know. His name could be Gergely Bagameri or Bagameri Gergely if you're saying it in a Hungarian order, or Bagameri. Bagameri sounds better for me, but that doesn't mean that that's the right pronunciation. But that also reminds me that I invited him to be on my channel for conversation chat at some point, so there's gonna be a chance for me to ask how he pronounces his name. And also, if you're interested in Marseille decks, because as far as I can tell, he's more into the Marseille style things. This is a mix of the two systems, but he has two other decks, and I think both of the other decks are from the Marseille system. So if you're interested and want to ask anything about his creations, then just keep an eye on the schedule live that's coming. Also, prepare your questions, and if you want to do that in advance, you can leave it in the comments down below. And obviously I will link everything very his socials, his shop. I can't remember where he sells. I think it's an Etsy shop, but if not, everything is going to be in the description as per usual. His recommendation for the deck is, by the way, for people who love to use their intuition to go off on. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't know anything. I don't think that suggests that, but that and numerology, because this is the box, by the way, the checkered box. And I have two other decks out. This is the only Tarot Marseille deck that I have. I have no idea if it's a really good or a really bad one. I picked it up back then when I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn the system, and I still didn't have any time for do that. So, but I have a Marseille deck, to compare a few cards to, and I have Tarot Vintage for the RWS system as well. So yeah, I picked up a few cards to show you. There's two extra cards that come with the deck. One is a title card, which is always nice, to be able to test modification on, with a really cute dog. The cardstock is quite interesting. It's not a very, at first, glance, it kind of feels a bit flimsy, but I'm kind of learning that doesn't mean anything. If you're, gentle on your decks, it can mean that it's a good cardstock. I'm not gonna sit here and claim to be, a master of cardstocks. I'm not. It's just kind of like I don't know if it has a core. I don't think it has, especially looking through the card. But the finish is quite nice. It's I would say it's a silky matte finish. It was a little hard to do the flip through, because it's a new deck, and if you don't shuffle it, they kind of tend to stick together. But with this cardstock, my experience, a similar cardstock, it goes away after you shuffled it for a few times, so I don't think that's a problem. And for the major arcana, we have the card name and a few keywords. So you don't have a little white book, but at least you have keywords. And for the minor, you have the numerological meaning for each suit and each cards, which is I'd say it's good enough to start. especially if you know nothing about, maybe that helps you to not feel too overwhelmed. Okay, so I pulled a few minors, but before I show you that one, here's a few other ones. As you can see, there's a quite distinctive art style for the faces. I would say they kind of look like, I'm over it. I'm like, can't humanity finally find, look at the Empress, the solution and leave me alone? I kind of got that feeling from the cards, and I'm assuming this is Gergő, by the way, just based on a few pictures that I saw on his Instagram, which is kind of cool. I mean, why not? And I'm gonna make the assumption that this is his dog, but we will ask all these things. Looking at the artwork, I think you have the typical, symbolism that you look for in an RWS, or I think I would say this is more RWS than Marseille, even though the majors are quite similar. And, everybody has a birthmark, and also there are no numbers on the cards. So, if you read the strength and justice, in different position, then it's not going to be a problem in this deck because they don't have a number. So you can assign any number you want. Here's the strength to them. Which, for some people it's annoying because they like to have numbers on their deck, but, you can get a Sharpie and just number the deck if that's something that you need. Also, the minors are pipish, like look at that, they are pip, but not the typical Marseille pips. They are, I think that's where the combination comes from, that the pentacles, for example, look like the pentacles in the RWS system. The cups are kind of in the middle. I can't even remember now that I think about it, because I never pay attention to the cups. You really pay attention to the scenic element, but this sword, the Ace of Swords looks like an RWS. So the aces, I think, are more like the RWS, and then there are the pips, which are kind of, I think they are different. Than, like, I'm not knowledgeable on Marseille, so if I say something like I have no idea, it's because I have no idea, but I just wanted to show you the deck, obviously. So if you're knowledgeable, you can decide if you like it or not. And Kasha from Tarot Map just recently reviewed one of his other decks, and I'm gonna link that down in the description as well. So a few cards. So this is the original, not original, I have no idea. I don't think how, I have no idea how close this is to the original illustration, but this is the one that I have. Why is the devil trying to take over? Come on now. So this is his chariot. Like I said, no names, but I kind of like this I'm over it expression. These are, this deck, they kind of look bored. So I guess that might have been, like the usual Marseille expression. And this chariot is kind of like, dude, I'm cool. I'm gonna go, even though none of them are moving, which always like makes me think about the chariot. It's like, you're supposed to be moving, yet you're resting. Why? But yeah, these are the 3 cards. I mean, obviously, it's very similar to the RWS. More similar, I would say, than to the Marseille. But, they are all kind of, like, they look similar, so. And here's the devil, which has kind of an interesting face. Like, obviously, it's gold with a metal plate, which I find interesting. And she's like, what are we doing here? And he's like, it's your fault. Which is kind of interesting. The more we're blaming each other, kind of looking. They are just posing for the picture. And this devil looks kind of funny, like the expression. It's the deviant moon, na 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 kind of face. But usual, you know, symbology. So I don't think there's a problem with that. Oh, and it's smaller and even narrower. Yeah, narrower than a regular size deck, because the Tarot Vintage is not as wide as a typical standard tarot, and this is exactly the width. So if you have the Tarot Vintage, you know the width, and it's a bit, you know, like shorter. So it's ideal for, you know, smaller hands like mine. They're kind of similar. I don't know. I will ask what's with the birthmark and stuff as well for sure. And it's interesting that on the Mercy, you know, these people are looking that way, whereas here everyone is just looking up. It kind of gives me the feeling that he's looking for absolution from her and she's looking for absolution from this person, which is probably should be a baby. I don't even know. They look too old. But yeah, these are the few examples that I pulled from the majors. And I pulled the, you know, pentacles from here to show, and I forgot to pull them from here because why not? So let me find the court cards so you can see them. So this is the page, like I said, no titles, which can be intimidating, you know, when you start learning using the deck or any decks, but I think once you use them enough, they're gonna stick. And that's gonna be fine. There are some, you know, skin color variation. Age, I guess, as well. Okay, so the page. And they are completely different here. But hopefully you can still see. So yeah, these are the court cards. They are, as you can see, they are very much the same as the RWS, and I'm just looking at, you know, these are different obviously, but similar enough for the Marseille. So I'm assuming that the Marseille part is coming from the numerological pips, like that's the featuring or, you know, mashup part of the deck, because it looks like the court cards and the major arcana is pretty much RWS, which I don't mind, because for me that makes things easier. Because I can use a pip deck, but if, you know, there are special, like, different meanings on that I should know about, like the court cards in Marseille, I still haven't had time to use that, and I'm not keen or big on numerology because there are some meshing things and meanings with especially the tens and how I read the decks usually. So I tend not to bring too much numerology into my decks, or not decks, into my readings. Only when, you know, there are certain numbers that I jump out. But yeah, I think, you know, this is my first impression. I don't think I can, you know, say more. Then because I will be, you know, become repetitive. But yeah, I kind of like the modern. I said that kind of weirdly. The style. Let's look at how it shuffles though. They kind of look, you know, like I said, I like that. Ugh, beach, please. Expression. Let's attempt a riff shuffle. I'm not a big, you know, ooh, but I love this one. So it's shuffles. And even bridges back for, you know, like people who can't do that easily. So I'm assuming this is everybody who loves and knows how to shuffle decks. Oh, you're gonna enjoy this. See, that's why cardstock doesn't really matter when you just pull a card and be like, ah, it's in cardstock. You have to check how it shuffles. And I'm not saying that currently the overhand is the easiest, because I kind of feel like it's, you know, shuffles in chunks, but it actually shuffles really nicely in a riff shuffle sense. So, and even I can do that, which, like I said, I'm not good at this at all. I know, hard to believe. But that's always a good sign. And I love the size, to be honest. It's a really great size for small-handed people like me. Okay, I'm gonna not, you know, overdo the shuffling. Let's pull 3 cards from 3 places, so there's a chance for bigger difference. Okay, cool. Okay. I have the Queen of Pentacles, the Hierophant, and the Nine of Cups, which is kind of cool. I wasn't thinking about, you know, anything. I just wanted to pull 3 cards, but the Queen of Pentacles is the card that I associate with the divine and the higher-ups. So, you know, when the Queen of Cups shows up, it's that energy for me that, you know, like, hey, we're here, we're listening, we're here to support you. And Hierophant is obviously learning lessons and finding structures and learning, you know, from something. And in this case, I think the deck, the Nine of Cups, is obviously emotional, you know, contentment and being happy and all that jazz. So I would say that's a good message and sign for this deck and me, because I'm gonna take it as a message for me regarding the deck. But for you, if you're still watching, take it, you know, just for whatever you were thinking about when I was shuffling the deck, because there might be a message for you that, you know, a supportive, like, don't give up kind of message is always nice. So yeah, I will start using this deck, and then at some point I will post my long-term experience. We will see how I will, you know, get along with this deck, if I will learn more about Mercedes, or I'm just gonna be like, yeah, it's a, you know, Pip RWS deck. But yeah, like I said, Gego is gonna be my guest on the channel, so if you're, you know, curious about his deck, how he creates them, and want to support him, for sure, please subscribe, like this video, and comment down below, because that all helps my channel and it shows him that, you know, his deck is interesting. So, you know, it's a kind of emotional blackmail, but hey, we're at the end of the video. Okay, I'm gonna shut up and go. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.